Hey there, comic book fans. It's Rusty again with Collector Auctions, and as you can see, I'm sitting here in the car. I'm getting ready to go into another new comic book day here in Annapolis, Maryland at Third Eye Comics. This is their flagship store, so if you guys ever get a chance to visit, please do. They have a ton of stuff, some back issues, not the greatest back issue bins, but tons of new comics and new comic book ratios and variants. That's why I come here, because they buy so much that if you're looking for a particular ratio, chances are you're going to find it here. But again, when I do these new comic book days, these are not going to be timely when I put these out. I'm not trying to promote New Comic Book Day on that particular day. It really is more of a comic book haul and to show you what I'm picking up. These are usually books that I have not pre-ordered from my subscription service with M&M Comics. These are things that I've usually missed or things I want to buy additional copies of. So the big comic book for today is Ultimate Spider-Man #2. I know I definitely have that pre-ordered, at least the original cover A cover, but I would like to see what kind of variants that they've got here at Third Eye, maybe pick up a couple different things. But there's a few other books on the list and maybe a few other back issues. And when I say back issues, what I'm talking about is some of the more recent releases. They're not new comic books this week, but they've been new over the last few months. And as you've seen in some of my videos with Third Eye Comics, they keep new comics up on their stands for a long time. You can find probably sometimes almost half a year, maybe even longer worth of comics still up there for cover price. And sometimes you can find some pretty good books that have gone up in value that you can still pick up for cover price sometimes. So we're going to go in. I'm not going to shoot a lot of video of the store. Again, I'm going to shoot video of the new comic book releases for this week. And we'll come back to the house and I'll show you what I picked up. So stay tuned and I'll be right back. All right, guys, I just finished up at Third Eye Comics for New Comic Book Day. I picked up some great comics, found some things I was looking for. Let me get back home and set up, and I will show you what I picked up. So hold on for just a moment. All right, so I made it back home, and I was able to bag and board all the new comics so I can present them safely right now. So let's see what I picked up at New Comic Book Day for February 21st, 2024. All right, so like I said at the beginning, this was the week that Ultimate Spider-Man #2 was coming out, and I definitely wanted to be there for this day. I did not go to New Comic Book Day when the issue 1 came out. That was a mistake, but even so, I was still able to go back a week later and pick up additional copies of some of the variants that were pretty good. The Parker family photo,
cover, the J. Scott Campbell cover. So I was able still to pick up definitely some good issues. I just couldn't pick up additional copies of the #1 issue, cover A. I couldn't get that. But I did get that in my M&M order eventually. But I did want to go for New Comic Book Day when #2 is coming out, so I can get an additional copy of cover A for that. This is definitely on my pre-order list too, so this is a second copy of this here. And I want to go ahead and pick up a variant here. This is of the new Green Goblin cover right there. I want to go ahead and pick that up. I know I didn't pre-order that. So those were the two that I picked up on Ultimate Spider-Man. I think they had a few other variants that really didn't do anything for me. So this is all I picked up for the Ultimate Spider-Man #2 for this week. Additionally, what was this week was something I had not pre-ordered because I am not a regular reader of this book. I was at the very beginning for about 60, maybe 65 issues, and then I eventually dropped it, which was Todd McFarlane's Spawn. And after that, the only time I actually pick up things are on milestone issues, and that's about it, to be honest with you. So we've got the 350th issue of Spawn, and like most of the times when one of these milestone issues come out, I just go with the Todd McFarlane art because he doesn't do the interiors, it seems like, anymore, but he still does art for the covers occasionally. I don't know, does he still do any interior work at all? I don't know, but I went ahead and picked this up, and I thought that was the only one I was going to get, but I decided since they had the sketch variant as well, Virgin sketch variant of that, I would go ahead and pick that up. It's still cover price, nothing, it's not an incentive book or anything like that. And they had, if you saw in the video there, the montage, they had plenty of other different covers to choose from. What I didn't show this week was a lot of the ratios, and you can catch a small glimpse of that if you go back on the montage, and you'll see that in the racks that are high above all the regular books. And I didn't focus on that, to be honest. I took a quick glance up there, and just nothing really even spoke out to me. So to be honest, I can't even tell you what the ratio variance for this was. But these were all just different covers, and so I picked up those two with Todd McFarlane art on the cover. Also out this week was I guess this is issue #1 of the new Edge of Spider-Verse book. Be honest with you, I don't even read this anymore. It feels like every other month there's a new #1 Edge of Spider-Verse book that comes out, and I can't keep track. And, well, the covers speak to me sometimes, so I still pick them up as a collector. I went ahead and got the Scotty Young cover right here, and I may save this for the Heroes Con down in Charlotte come this June. Scotty Young just got announced he's going to be back there at Heroes Con for a second straight year. I may take this one down and get this one signed. I do have one of the earlier Spider-Verse books that it's a white cover with the same, I think it's most of the same characters here, the Spider-Verse characters, the main ones. And I think I've got that cover. I got that cover signed last year. I may get this one signed too because it seems to me like this is very similar to that. Maybe a nice pair to put in the collection. I also picked up the homage cover to, I think, was this the What If issue with Spider-Girl? And, of course, this is Mary Jane right there. And I went ahead and just picked that up. This was completely an impulse buy. Probably not it's actually pretty good, but it's not, I mean, it's after Ron Friends, but it's not quite. This is David Nakayama. I'd say this is not my favorite David Nakayama cover right there, but it's still a cover. It's a nice homage. I kind of like that, so I went ahead and picked that up too. I did pick up this. It's another #1 of the Six Fingers, and this one's got me a little confused as well. I got to go back and double check because didn't I just do a video where I picked up the first issue of the Six Fingers as well? How many #1s are there that are coming out? I don't know. I'd have to do my research. Again, this is a book that I'm only picking up because there was definitely some buzz with new comic books on some other YouTube channels. I wouldn't call this FOMO. I would just say, it's a little, I just said, but this is one of those where you take a little bit of information from other readers and you kind of go on instincts. And what's it going to cost a few bucks here to pick up a number one, another number one, maybe, I don't know. So I picked that up. And then the last thing that I picked up for New Comic Book Day that was new, and I think I did pretty good with my pre-ordering from this particular week, because I didn't buy a lot of stuff this time. It was a few books here. Definitely picked up an additional Ultimate Spider-Man #1 cover A, but the other books were kind of new. But so there's not a lot of new stuff. But I did pick this up, and then I went back and I picked up some additional books. But I picked up issue number 3 of The Sentry. Now, to be quite honest, I'm not really interested too much in going back and, well, I am going to go back and reread this, and I'll explain in a second. But the only reason I went and picked this up, this is issues number 3, this is the new book that came out this week. But I went back and I picked up issues number 1 and number 2. And again, I'm not really interested in reading this, although I am going, like I said, I'm going to read this now. But the reason I picked it up is the cover artist is Ben Harvey, and that is an artist that I got to meet 2 years ago at the Baltimore Comic-Con, and it was I remember that day because it was the last hour of the last day, and as I was going around, I'd finished up all of my CGC books, I'd finished up buying back issues, I'd finished up getting everything signed that I wanted to get signed, and I had about an hour or so left on the Sunday, and what have I not seen? And what I hadn't done was go through the artist alley, where you've got a lot of these independent artists doing various independent projects, and I felt like if I needed to at least go through it once to look over and see what kind of artists are over there, and I didn't want to miss something. You never know. In fact, I've seen David Michelinie actually over in this area before when he was at Baltimore Comic-Con at one point, and well, they do put some prominent creators in that area too. It spreads out a little bit, so I don't want to miss anything, is the point. So as I'm going around and I'm looking and I'm looking at some of the art from these independent artists, and I happened to stop at a table where this young man was doing this beautiful watercolor of Storm. And I stood there for a moment, and I was looking at some of the prints, and the prints caught my eye to begin with. But what really captured me was watching the watercolor technique, and then looking at the art that he'd already been producing in the prints, and I'm going, wow, this is really nice. Now, Ben Harvey is somebody that I've talked about before, and I ended up buying a couple prints, a beautiful Harley Quinn print that I gave to my daughter for Christmas a couple years ago, and a Black Widow print that I kept for myself, and I had him sign both of those. And it's one of those, I started following him on Facebook, and I wish I had spent the money at that point and bought a piece of original artwork, because I kind of expected him to be back. He had not done at that point any work for Marvel, but in the last 2 years, he's really picked up in popularity and the amount of work he's been doing. And I think one of his first big projects was he did the cover art for, issue 21 of, what was it? Something Stealing the Children. It was a variant cover, but he did that, and he's been building up his resume, and he's actually gotten in the door with Marvel, and he's been doing a lot more covers with that. In fact, he's got a beautiful Rogue and Gambit cover. It's one of the new books too, and I think it's issue number 2. It looks very much like a Norman Rockwell painting to me, but he's doing the cover art for all the Century books for this. I think it's just a mini series. I don't think this is an ongoing. Well, it doesn't say miniseries, but I'd imagine this pretty much is probably just a miniseries. But he's doing the cover art to all of these, and I'm going, okay, I'm a big fan of his, and I don't have a lot of his independent work, so let's go ahead and pick these up. So that's why I ended up picking up the Century for this week, and I'll continue with the series as long as he's doing the covers to them. But that is it for New Comic Book Day for February 21st, 2024. I did pretty good, not, like I said, pre-ordering, so I didn't have a lot of missed books. There were a lot of great variant covers this week. I passed on getting variants of the new Batman book. I realized that even though they're doing this Joker Year 1, I in fact did pre-order all of those, so I'm good through at least issue 144, 145. So as those come in, I didn't pick up any variants on that. There were some beautiful Wonder Woman variants, but nothing really jumped out at me and said, take me home. So I passed on a lot of stuff and had a good time at Third Eye Comics. Again, guys, if you're ever in the Annapolis area here in Maryland, you've got to visit Third Eye Comics. They are loaded with tons of new comics, new comic book ratios, variants. Just they're loaded. And you only caught a small glimpse of the store as I walked into the store in that video. And you should go back to one of my previous videos where I spotlighted Third Eye Comics and did the whole store. But the amount of anime, Funko Pops, statues, trade paperbacks, hardbounds, it's a great amount. Back issues, they do have some key back issues. In fact, they have a big key back issue wall, and then some bins. They're very light on the bins, but you can definitely find some gems on the wall, especially. So, guys, give them a shot. They're definitely, and there's other locations as well. This is the flagship station, so they are probably one of the biggest ones out there. I've been to several others, and they're all about half, not even half the size, but they're all still pretty good. It's the same thing, just in a smaller dosage. But definitely visit Third Eye Comics in Annapolis, Maryland when you get a chance. I don't think you'll be too disappointed. Anyway, that's it for today, guys. If you like this kind of content, definitely give me a like, slap that subscribe, and click on that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my great episodes that I put out each and every week, Mondays and Fridays at 10 a.m. And definitely leave me a comment today. Let me know what you think of these books. What did you pick up for New Comic Book Day this week? Again, this video is not coming out timely for New Comic Book Day. This is really more of a comic book haul type of video, but I am spotlighting New Comic Book Day in these videos. It's just, it won't be a timely thing. So hopefully these are books that you were able to pick up on New Comic Book Day or even after that. So definitely leave me a comment. Let me know what you've been picking up. So that's it for today, guys. I'm out of here. Take care, and remember, every comic has a story.